What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. First up, Daniel Cormier opens up about his moment with Jon Jones at UFC 306. He claims that while he was commentating and doing his job, Jon came up to him to greet him. Here's what DC had to say.
Jon Jones was in the arena on Saturday. Ben, so as it always happens, I'm sitting there doing my job. Guess who always comes up to say hi to me? I can't stop it. It happens every time. I
thought you and Jon were buddies now.
But we're not buddies. We're just we're not buddies. I don't
That was a joke. That was a joke.
We don't really talk. But it's like every time, it's like you end up in a situation where you're shaking hands.
Dricus Du Plessis reacts to Khamzat Chimaev comments. Ahead of Khamzat Chimaev's UFC 308 fight with Robert Whittaker, the undefeated contender knows that with a big win, he'll be right in the mix for a crack at the middleweight title. While a potential title fight for Chimaev will likely be against the winner of the yet-to-be-announced Dricus Du Plessis-Sean Strickland fight, he took aim at the champion during a Russian-speaking interview with Adam Zubairayev, where he dubbed DDP a bad version of himself, saying, quote, "This is his peak now. You could say that Dricus is a bad version of me. I'll be back soon, and I'll take him down. For me, Dricus is much more convenient than other fighters. Sean Strickland gets up well, and Dricus, he's a wrestler, but more physical. We have the technique, wrestling, counter-wrestling to take him down and hold him, and he knows it himself. That's why he's silent about me." In response, Dricus Du Plessis commented, "Put a shirt on, princess, before you catch another cold." With just over 5 weeks to go until the two finally throw down in Abu Dhabi, Chimaev is sitting as a comfortable betting favorite on FanDuel, where he's a -200 favorite, while on the flip side, Whittaker is a +154 underdog. While many members of the MMA community on social media called for Chimaev to retire after he withdrew from his scheduled fight with Whittaker in Saudi Arabia back in June, it's clear that Boers still has his sights set on capturing UFC gold. Up next, Movsar Evloev reacts to Aljamain Sterling pulling out. Just over 2 weeks out from UFC 307 in Salt Lake City, Utah, Aljamain Sterling has withdrawn from his scheduled fight against Movsar Evloev. Sterling broke the news in a video for his YouTube channel, where he showed fans footage of the injury during a sparring session. In his video, Sterling explained, "Unfortunately, I have to break the news. I will not be competing in Salt Lake City at UFC 307. In sparring, I had an injury. I did the stem cells. I took time off. I tried to rehab it as much as I can, as best as I can with the PI team here, and unfortunately, it's out of my hands now. So, Movsar, if you still really want to punch this handsome face, I put the challenge out to you to push the fight back and wait for daddy." Sterling proposed a rescheduled date in December, prompting a response from Evloev on social media. "I see Aljamain announced on his YouTube channel that he's out of the fight. I've been training for 4 months and would like to stay on this card and fight anybody. I'm not sure if the UFC can find someone to fight me, but I worked really hard for this fight." Evloev also called out Diego Lopez, who's fresh off a victory over Brian Ortega this past weekend at the Sphere, which landed him at number 3 on the UFC's official rankings. "Diego Lopez, if you want to defend your honor, you have 2.5 weeks to try and get this loss off your record." He then followed it up with another post, writing, "I'm the only reason you're here today. You should be grateful for the rest of your life." Lopez then responded, shutting down talk of a potential rematch. "You had your chance a few months ago when I called you to fight. Now you sit back and watch as the bus leaves you waiting." Movsar Evloev responded by saying, "Hey, Dan Ige almost beat you a couple months ago too. Why you are lying, saying you called me out? Next time I see you, maybe I give you a proper haircut because your barber is very cheap. I'm the only reason you're here today. You should be grateful for the rest of your life." Diego Lopez then fired back at Evloev. "Brother, since my first victory in the UFC, I called you to fight. You could make excuses that you were above me in the rankings. Since our fight, I have 5 victories, while you have only fought once. You were lower in the rankings, not to mention that you have not finished anyone." And Movsar Evloev ended the exchange with, "History will tell that I beat you already and moved on. I was just trying to give you an opportunity to get a rematch, but at this point, you don't have to worry about me talking about you ever again, unless you become a champion. But time will tell." Given that fight night is right around the corner, it sounds like Evloev is set on finding a short-notice opponent to replace Sterling. Up next, Merab reacts to Herb Dean at UFC 306. Herb Dean's refereeing throughout the UFC 306 main event sparked quite a bit of criticism for the veteran official. Early on in the fight, there was a moment where Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley's coach, Tim Welsh, were involved in a verbal confrontation that required Dean to intervene. Then, later in the fight, after Dvalishvili began kissing O'Malley on the back late in the second round, Dean stepped in and told Dvalishvili to cut it out, which the machine mistakenly took to mean that the round was over, leading to a short flurry from O'Malley while Dvalishvili's back was turned. In addition, at various points throughout the fight, Dean was criticized for telling both fighters to work and engage, both on the feet, as well as during grappling exchanges. On Thursday, Divashvili reacted to the situation, explaining how in the 5th round specifically, Dean hindered his performance. Still respect for Herb Dean. I tweeted before about how great a job he did refereeing my fight when he stopped the callouts from O'Malley's team and when he told me to cut the kissing. I finally watched the fight though, and he definitely affected my 5th round. I had O'Malley's back in a good position and giving damage with knees, but Herb kept telling me to work. So I switched my position and he told again, work. I let go again and lost my dominant position. I was waiting for Sean to work so I could punch his face or grab the submission. Former bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw also weighed in on the situation during an appearance on the Jackson podcast this week, where he explained, quote, "It's complete BS. You can't tell two fighters to work when they're on their feet. I could run circles if I wanted to. You can't tell me to go and work. It's not like I'm stalling against the cage. We're striking and you're telling me to work. I might run into something now because you're coaching me on how I'm supposed to fight. The ref shouldn't be involved like that." I thought it was very weird. It was almost like he had money on O'Malley. It was like he wanted Merab to keep going so O'Malley could catch him with something. It was weird. So far, Herb Dean has yet to share his side of the situation. On the topic of Merab, he also responded to comments of ducking Umar Nurmagomedov, saying, "Guys, I hear all of you. I'm a company man. Whoever the UFC puts in front of me, I will fight as I always do, even if I don't think they deserve the next shot. Let's go." How do you guys see that fight playing out? Jon Jones is lying about retirement? While attending UFC 306 this past weekend, Jon Jones revealed that his upcoming UFC 309 fight with Stipe Miocic would more than likely be his final fight. The way Chael Sonnen sees things, Jones was being insecure and doesn't actually have plans to retire. During a recent video for his YouTube channel, he weighed in on the situation, saying he didn't mean it. It was completely insincere. It wasn't even his idea. Somebody else said it. He heard it, thought it might be good to go with. And a couple of different reasons guys that are not going to retire say that they're going to retire. A couple. One could be he heard somebody else say it, thought it might be good marketing. Dana White also weighed in on the situation while speaking with media members after Tuesday's episode of Dana White's Contender Series.
Why speak to him after this event? You got to figure out what's going to happen in this fight. See how this fight plays out, and then we'll go from there.
In addition, White also confirmed that Tom Aspinall will in fact be the backup fighter on the card after the interim champion revealed recently that he has been preparing to step in on short notice if need be. As White explained, quote, "Yes, Tom Aspinall is next in line for anything that happens after this fight. Do you think Jon Jones is really going to retire after UFC 309, or will he stick around for a title unification bout with Tom Aspinall before riding off into the sunset?" Up next, Joaquin Buckley reveals changes to Wonerboy fight. According to Joaquin Buckley, his UFC 307 welterweight bout against Stephen Wonerboy Thompson has reportedly been bumped down to the preliminary card with just weeks to go before the pair are set to collide in Salt Lake City. In a video shared on social media by Perry Punch, Buckley explained the situation, revealing to fans that this will also be the last fight of his that fans get to watch for free.
Y'all know I've been quiet. I ain't been posting nothing. Look, that ain't because I'm worried about nothing. I'm very excited, man, for what's going to happen in my career. October 5th, you already know. It's a set date. It seems like they changed their mind and put me on the prelims, but it's all right. I feel like this is the fight right here. This is the last one y'all get for free. You hear me? So please tune in October 5th, me versus Wonerboy. It's going to be a wonderful war. It's going to be a beautiful fight. And I'm so excited, man.
Amid a 4-fight win streak that has seen Buckley climb to number 11 on the UFC's official rankings, the streaking contender is confident that with a win over Wonerboy, the UFC will exclusively have him fight on the main card of pay-per-views. Ahead of the fight, Buckley is sitting as a slight -186 favorite on FanDuel, while on the flip side, Stephen Thompson is a +144 underdog. While Buckley will be riding a 4-fight win streak into the bout, Thompson will be looking to bounce back from a December loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Now let's get to UFC updates. Following last weekend's UFC 306 card, let's take a look at today's UFC fight updates, starting with a new addition to the UFC Paris card. According to reports, Taylor Lapilus and Vince Morales will collide in a bantamweight bout that will see Lapilus look to build on a June victory over Cody Stamann. And on the other side, Morales will be looking to pick up a victory in his return to the UFC after going on a 5-fight victory streak on the regional scene after being cut from the UFC back in 2022. Looking ahead at the month of October, Austin Hubbard has revealed that with Nate Landwehr out, he will now be competing against Alexander Hernandez at UFC 307 on October 5th. The fight will see Hubbard look to build on an April win over Michael Figlak, while on the flip side, Hernandez will be looking to snap a 2-fight losing streak that most recently saw him drop a split decision to Damon Jackson. The following week, Daniel Rodriguez and Alex Morono will throw down at the Apex on the UFC Vegas 98 card on October 12th. The bout will see Rodriguez look to snap a 3-fight skid that most recently saw him lose to Kelvin Gastelum. While on the flip side, Morono will be looking to bounce back from a June loss to Nico Price. The week after that, Melissa Martinez will be stepping in on short notice to fight Alice Ardelean after Ardelean's original opponent was forced out of the fight. Martinez will be looking to return to action after a loss to Elise Reed back in 2022 that marked the first loss of her pro career. While on the flip side, Ardelean will be looking to bounce back from a split decision loss to Shauna Bannon in July. Last but certainly not least in the way of UFC fight updates, Said Nurmagomedov and Daniel Santos are set to collide at UFC 308 on October 26 in a bantamweight fight that will see Nurmagomedov look to build on a win over Muin Gafurov back at UFC 294. On the other side, Santos will be looking to return to action after a year-long layoff following a win over Johnny Munoz last June. Brian Ortega breaks silence on UFC 306 loss. This past weekend, Brian Ortega and Diego Lopez threw down in a highly anticipated featherweight matchup months in the making. After Ortega was forced to withdraw from their previously scheduled fight at UFC 303, T-City showed his toughness as he went 3 rounds with Lopez despite being dropped moments into the fight. In a post on Instagram Wednesday, Ortega broke his silence on the loss, giving fans an update on his health after sustaining quite a bit of damage in a 3-round affair. Thank you guys for all the messages. Face a little bit swollen, lips a little bit swollen. Obviously, you know that eye was crying for a bit, but it is what it is. We're crying blood for a bit. Leg is swollen. We're good mentally, physically, nothing's broken. Like I said, the prayer for me was just get me out of this fight without any surgeries or things like that. So we're doing good. I did have some time to reflect, obviously, and gotta make some moves to get better. That's it. Following the loss, the expectation is that Ortega will likely follow through with his plan to move up to 155, something he had decided after his win over Yair Rodriguez. Given that he won't have to undergo surgery, it sounds as though the former title challenger could be back in the octagon sometime early next year. Ilia Topuria disrespects Sean O'Malley after his loss at UFC 306. According to Ilia, a fight with Sean is no longer interesting to him. He said, "Some other better fight will come along. It's like the same with Patty. It seemed like a super attractive fight, but if you're not at that level, what can I do? You get defeated even before you get into the octagon with me. I don't even need to get in there for people to know that I'm better than you, so why fight?" Top comments. 31-year-old Schmitty acting like O'Malley's loss is all about him. Man needs to grow a pair. O'Malley's friend group is exactly what I'd expect it to be. Who else is looking forward to seeing blessed humble Topuria? I was one of Khamzat's biggest fans when he came into the UFC. For the past 6 months, I've been giving him the Conor treatment. That is, anytime I see a segment of information on him, I skip it immediately until I see him in the ring.